The Penguin stars Colin Farrell as Oswald Cobb, a disfigured hood who rises to the ranks of a formidable Gotham City gangster. A spin-off from Matt Reeves' Batman movie, this 8-episode limited series depicts the aftermath of the climax of the film after the Riddler unleashes a flood onto Gotham and mob boss Carmine Falcone is killed. Amid the gap in the criminal underworld, the Penguin looks to cement himself as the new boss of the city. The series delves into Oswald's past, showing us snippets which tell us why he is the way he is. In the Batman movie, all we really know of him is that he is a club-owning, connected mid-level gangster who works for Carmine. The show, however, goes much deeper, exploring Oz's troubled relationship with his mother who is suffering from dementia. She puts pressure on her son to compete and rise the ranks in the underworld, and much of Oz's motivation comes from an insecurity to please his demanding mother. There is a strong bond between the two, a relationship that feels very much like they both feel like they only have each other in the world. We also see that Oz is pretty self-conscious about the way he is perceived, what with his looks and his disability, hence why he may have taken pity on the young Victor with his speech impairment, taking him under his wing and teaching him the ropes of the underworld. Part of this behaviour stems from Oswald's need for others to need him, a desire to be the one who others turn to, the protector, the provider, and whatever other fantasies he has, most probably stemming from his upbringing with his mother. The most recent episode, Top Hat, the penultimate of the season, showcases a shocking aspect of Oz's childhood. In the opening flashback, we see that even as a kid, Oz suffered from his leg issue, and he cherishes time with his mother, who seems to ever so slightly favour Oz's two brothers, one older and one younger, over him in terms of quality time. Or at least that's how Oz perceives it. It's not like Oz's brothers were overly cruel to him. In fact, it seems like a pretty wholesome relationship, all things considered. Oz's older brother even advises Oz to keep his distance when he has to deal with a local gangster. Later, the kids are playing a hide-and-seek game in the underground sewers and they go down a ladder. Oz struggles to make his way down to find them, gets frustrated as they giggle, and then gets off the ladder. Again, there's no particular malice from Oz's brothers. The older one even apologizes, but Oz then slams the door on them, exclaiming, "Have fun getting out," and walks all the way home. All the while his brothers beg and plead for him to open the door. At home, Oz tells his mother the brothers went to see a movie, and the two decide to sit down and watch a movie of their own. The rain gets heavier and heavier. Oz looks out the window several times, looking thoughtful, pensive, regretful perhaps, but commits to the lie and watches the film with his mother. As Oz glances to the rain, we cut repeatedly to shots of the door holding back his two brothers, as their pleading becomes more gurgled under the water, until it eventually stops. Meanwhile, Oz looks more and more content as the minutes pass, sharing this tender moment with his mother as they watch the TV. With the backdrop of having condemned his innocent brothers to their doom, watching a show of a man tap dancing in a top hat and a tuxedo, the Penguin is born. This segment is one of the most disturbing and shocking of the entire show. The idea that Oz had his brothers killed over such a non-issue especially is sick, and for sure from a narrative perspective exists to ensure we keep our distance from him lest we start to like him too much. It's common for the show to recontextualize itself using flashbacks, like with Sophia the Hangman for example, who looks deranged and unhinged upon her release from Arkham Asylum, her family fearful of her given she has murdered numerous women. It's only after we learn her story though, we see that she was actually framed, tortured in the asylum, and the reason her family are fearful is that they anticipate revenge from her as they were part of the setup. Similarly, Oswald tells Victor regarding his brothers that the city took them. Clearly there's a story there. Clearly there's trauma. Perhaps his two brothers were screwed over by the city's bureaucracy. Maybe they tried their hand at the gangster lifestyle and were punished for it. Maybe Oz screwed up and inadvertently got them killed, forcing Oz to become his mother's only caregiver and the breadwinner. But who could have imagined that Oz himself would have been the one to kill them, and at least partly to have his mother's love all to himself? There is a moment in the show where Oz is angry at Victor for talking about his brothers with Oz's mother when she mistakes him for her son during a spell. Previously, we may have thought that this was because he felt his brother's memory was being insulted, that perhaps it would make his mother's dementia worse by bringing it up. But with this new information, maybe Oz just didn't want his mum to remember the brothers, to lament and showcase love for anyone other than himself. We may have thought all this time that the death of the brothers made Oz a weird mama's boy, but it turns out he was always a weird mama's boy, and that contributed to his brothers' deaths. It remains to be seen, with one episode left, whether Frances, Oz's mother, knows the truth about her boys, whether she will learn, and whether this event will have any further impact going forward, like maybe Oz getting jealous of Frances's affection for Victor. But if Oz can betray his brothers, he can betray anyone, and his lack of loyalty is a staple of his character in the show. Ditching Sophia, for example, when they are ambushed by the Maronis, or not even having the common courtesy to tell his men there is a bomb in the car, instead skedaddling and making a quick getaway. There is an aura of ambiguity about this entire storyline regarding Oz's planning and intent. Did Oz plan to kill his brothers? Or did he just slam the door shut and walk away in juvenile anger, not really thinking about the implications? Did he assume they would end up home, soaking wet and pissed off? Did he look at the rain because he was feeling smug that he was warm and dry and they would be cold and wet? Did panic start to set in when evening approached and he saw the rain was increasing? Did he plan to go back but the rain put him off? Was his decision not to tell his mother and sit and watch the movie more inaction than malice? Did he start to get comfortable and cushy having his mother all to himself and realized how much better life was this way and then consciously allowed his brothers to die? Or was it a case of a child confused and unsure of what to do, fearing a battering from his mother if he told the truth, just deciding to do nothing and live in the moment? I wonder if Oz even planned to maybe go down the next day to let them out. But the acting from the young Oswald actor definitely speaks to a boy who has an idea of what is happening, that at the very least the brothers are in trouble. And not only that, he seems pretty cozy and content at it. Even the fact that he walked all the way home in the first place is pretty twisted, even if he had planned to go back. And we don't know if he did plan to go back. More is lost by indecision than wrong decision, as another crooked fat gangster who would have inspired Oswald once said. It's probably a little of column A, a little of column B. If Oz himself was asked years later, he might not even know the real reason. Ultimately, it was a petty action done by an insecure person, an action which had huge ramifications, much like when he killed Alberto in the opening episode when he is insulted. In both these incidents, Oz is made to feel small. He lashes out impulsively and then makes most of his situation. I mean, there's a reason why the show had him look slightly unsettled at the rain by the window, and then later when he's watching the show he repeatedly looks again, but visibly gets more and more relaxed. Maybe he's that twisted that he wasn't actually worried about his brother's safety, but was more worried about the fact that they might actually come back, and his thoughts were more coming up with a convincing lie for his mother. If we go back to the scene where he is at home with his mother and the brothers, we see that Oz wants his mother's attention, gets it, but then she gets frustrated with the other two boys when they come in making a racket. There is a close-up to Oz's face when his mother gets up and yells, but even still, she begins to play with them, all the while Oz watches, in particular when his mother touches and kisses his older brother. There's even something Freudian the way he's looking at his mother. Presumably Oz was burning with envy, but I do think the show showed us the mother did give all her boys love, so the issue is more with him than her. And personally, I think it's good that the show did that. Otherwise, it could have been a cliche, oh, nobody loved me, supervillain origin story. But clearly, Oz was loved. He was just greedy for all his mother's love. Oz killing his brothers on a whim showcases how despicable the man really is. A ruthless, greedy man with no loyalty nor love to anyone except his ma. He is driven by his insecurity, and rather than be a case, as we might think, of this being a guy driven to the edge after a lifetime of bullying for the way he looks and his dicky leg, he is in fact a petty, jealous psychopath. Interestingly, there is an after-episode show that HBO does which spells out that the brothers did not have malicious intent when they went down the ladder, and Oz shutting the door on them was a spur-of-the-moment thing. but he did actively allow them to die once he got comfortable with his mother, knowing that they would at least be in trouble, seeing as though they hadn't come back. In any case, it looks like Oz has some kind of Oedipus complex going on with his mother, strengthened by the fact that Oedipus's second name is Rex, and the gangster that Oz looks up to is called Rex. He might just be his father. So what do you make of Oz and his brothers? Do you think he did what he did on purpose, or did he make the best, so to speak, of his situation? Let me know in the comment section below, subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching.